In the summer of 1971, just months before opening day, Disney installed a wave machine that would allow guests to surf in the Seven Seas Lagoon. By opening day, it was already shut down. Meet Dick Nunis. This man lived out the quintessential Disney career, starting off in 1955 at Disneyland training cast members and retiring 44 years later as chairman of Walt Disney Attractions. He played a crucial role in the development of Walt Disney World back in the 1970s when it was being built. You see, at the time, there was no theme park scene in Florida. It was Walt Disney World that would eventually draw all of the competition to them in the region after its financial and critical success. So when the resort was being built, the only real local competition Disney would face would be Florida's many beautiful beaches. This is where Nunis comes in. He was fixed on this idea of putting a wave machine in the man-made Seven Seas Lagoon so that among all of the other recreational activities Disney offered, surfing would also be on that list. By putting it on the south side of Beachcomber Island and pointing it towards the Polynesian resort, it would not only compete with other options for surfing in Florida, but it would be the best option. The waves would be dependable since they were man-made, and they'd be set against the beautiful and idyllic Polynesian resort. Nunis managed to secure the $400,000 that it would take to make the dream a reality, and before the man-made lagoon was filled with water, a wave machine comprised of 8 hydraulically activated paddles was installed on the island. It faced a man-made beach to the left of the Polynesian, which was named Beachcomber Beach, though Nunis had hopes of it eventually being renamed Surfrider Beach. Much in the same way the golf courses at Disney World would eventually host PGA tournaments, Nunis envisioned a day in which Surfrider Beach would be the home of famous surfing competitions. So with the machinery installed and the lagoon filled, Disney began testing in the summer of 1971, just months prior to the grand opening of the resort, and it worked! So why was it shut down by the time Walt Disney World opened that October, and then shut down permanently the very next year? Well, apparently it worked too well. You see, waves are erosive, and churning around that much water on a regular basis meant that the waves began to erode the beaches in the surrounding area, including the island that the machines were installed off of. It was also reported that the machinery was sometimes unreliable and required maintenance that was ultimately expensive since it required engineers to work underwater. Adding to all of that, there was also the argument that all of those waves made the water somewhat unsafe for the boats and the lagoon being used for transportation. So they turned them off before the grand opening. Now, they would see some occasional use during that first year during specific times, but by the summer of 1972, they were just turned off for good. It was said that in 1985, they were tested one last time before deciding whether or not to remove the machinery from the lagoon. The thought being that maybe after nearly 15 years, the lagoon would have settled enough to counter the erosive effects. It proved unsuccessful, however, and Disney eventually removed the machine. It was ultimately nearly $500,000 spent on an idea that both managed to come to fruition yet barely got used at all before being shut down. That didn't get Nunis down, however, and he ultimately found vindication for his idea. He continued to be adamant that Walt Disney World needed a beach-like experience in their resort to compete with the local options. Thanks to that drive, we now have Typhoon Lagoon, which features its own working wave pool that, yes, you can even surf in.